My sister came at my pregnant belly with a knife. Then my husband sided with her. I fled to protect my baby. Then their terrifying betrayal finally came to light. My sister stabbed my baby shower cake 47 times, screaming, "You ruined my life," and lunged at my stomach with the knife. My husband supported her, but my own mother grabbed my arms and held me still. I'm due in 3 weeks, and she has a key to my house. I'm Natalie, and I never thought I'd be typing this from a hotel room at 8 months pregnant, but here we are. The thing is, I need to explain what happened after she lunged at me because that's when everything I thought I knew about my family just shattered into a million pieces. When Vanessa came at me with that knife still dripping with buttercream frosting, I screamed, obviously. But what I remember most clearly isn't the fear. It's the look on my husband Blake's face. He wasn't horrified. He was nodding like this was all somehow reasonable. My best friend Lacey threw herself between us and shoved Vanessa back. The knife clattered to the floor of the event hall. 50 guests stood frozen, their phones out, recording everything. My mother-in-law Diane started crying. My cousin Michelle was already calling the police, but my mother, my own mother, Patricia, who'd held my arm so tight I'd have bruises the next day, looked at me and said, "Natalie, you need to calm down. You're making a scene." I was making a scene. Me, not Vanessa, who just destroyed a $300 cake and tried to stab her pregnant sister. "Let go of me," I said, my voice shaking. "Mom, let go of me right now." She released me slowly like I was the one who might do something violent. I stumbled backward, my hand instinctively going to my belly. The baby kicked, probably sensing my panic. Blake finally moved. He walked over to Vanessa, who was sobbing on the floor, mascara streaming down her face, and he put his hand on her shoulder. "It's okay," he said softly. "Just breathe." I stared at him. "What are you doing?" He looked at me, and there was something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Not quite anger, something colder. "She's going through something, Nat. You know that. She just tried to stab me. She wasn't actually going to." "I'm 8 months pregnant, Blake." My voice cracked. "She came at me with a knife, and you're comforting her." Lacey grabbed my hand. "We're leaving right now. Come on." But I couldn't move. I was staring at my mother, who was now kneeling beside Vanessa, stroking her hair. At Blake, who hadn't even asked if I was okay, at my sister, who was looking up at me with red-rimmed eyes and something like triumph on her face. "This is what you do," Vanessa said, her voice. "You take everything. Everything that's supposed to be mine." I heard sirens in the distance. Someone had actually called the cops. "Good. I don't understand," I said, looking around the room at all these people I thought loved me. "I don't understand what's happening right now." That's when Blake said the words that would replay in my head for the next 72 hours straight. "Maybe you should have thought about that before." Before what I wanted to scream, but Lacey was pulling me toward the door, and I let her because my legs felt like they might give out. We drove to her apartment in silence, except for my ragged breathing. I kept checking my phone, waiting for Blake to call, to text, to say literally anything, but there was nothing. "Did you know something was going on?" I finally asked Lacey as she made me tea. I didn't want with Vanessa, with Blake, with any of this. She sat down across from me, her expression careful. "I noticed Vanessa's been weird lately. She didn't come to your appointment last month like she promised. And she kept posting these cryptic things on social media about people who think they're better than everyone else. She was posting about me. I thought so. But I figured you two had a fight or something. I didn't think." She gestured helplessly. "Nobody thinks someone's going to do what she just did." I pulled out my phone and opened social media for the first time in days. I'd been so focused on getting ready for the baby that I hadn't been paying attention to anything else. Vanessa's latest post was from 3 hours before the baby shower. It said, "Some people will smile in your face while stealing everything you've ever wanted. But the truth always comes out. Watch. What does that even mean?" I scrolled through her other recent posts. They were all like this. Vague accusations, references to betrayal. One from 2 weeks ago said, "When your own family chooses someone else over you, that's when you know who people really are, Natalie." Lacey's voice was gentle. "Do you know what she's talking about? Has something been going on with you two?" I thought back over the past few months. Vanessa had been distant. Sure, she'd skipped my gender reveal party saying she had a work thing. She'd been short with me on the phone, but we'd been close our whole lives. We told each other everything, or at least I thought we did. "No," I said finally. "I mean, she's been acting strange, but I figured she was stressed about work. She's been trying to make partner at her firm for years." My phone buzzed. Finally, Blake. But the message made my blood run cold. "I'm staying at my brother's tonight. We need space to think about things. Don't come home yet. Don't come home to my own house." The house we bought together 3 years ago. I called him immediately. It rang 4 times before he answered. "Blake, what is going on?" "Why would you tell me not to come home? Your sister is really upset. Nat, your mom is with her at our place trying to calm her down." I almost dropped the phone. "They're at our house. You let them into our house after what just happened. Someone needs to make sure she doesn't. He paused. She needs support right now. She tried to stab me. She wasn't actually going to hurt you. She was just overwhelmed. I couldn't breathe. Blake, I'm your wife. I'm carrying your baby. Why aren't you supporting me? The silence on the other end lasted too long. When he finally spoke, his voice was tight. Because maybe Vanessa has a point. Maybe we need to talk about some things you've been hiding. Then he hung up. I sat there staring at my phone like it might explain what universe I'd fallen into, where my husband, my mother, and my sister had all apparently turned against me. Lacey was watching me with wide eyes. What did he say? He said, I've been hiding something. He said, Vanessa has a point. I looked up at her. Lacey, I have no idea what he's talking about. I swear to you, I don't know what any of this is about. She believed me. I could see it in her face. But that didn't make any of it make sense. Okay, she said, shifting into practical mode. Okay, first thing, we need to change your locks. If your mother has a key, and they're all at your house right now. Vanessa has a key too, I said quietly. I gave her one years ago for emergencies, and Blake obviously has his. So all three of them can access your house whenever they want, and you're due in 3 weeks. When she put it like that, the fear really hit me. I started shaking. I can't go into labor with them having access to my home, with them thinking whatever it is they think about me. What if they try to take the baby? Let's not spiral, Lacey said. But I could see she was worried too. Let's just figure out what's actually going on. There has to be an explanation. People don't just turn on someone for no reason. I opened my text thread with Blake and scrolled back through our messages from the past few weeks. Everything had seemed normal. He'd sent me a picture of a onesie he'd bought at Target just 2 days ago with 3 heart emojis. We'd talked about baby names, about whether his parents should visit the week after the birth or wait a month. Nothing indicated that he thought I was hiding something. Nothing suggested this was coming. Then I switched to Vanessa's thread. Our last conversation was from 5 days ago. She'd texted asking if I needed help setting up for the shower. I'd said the event planner had it handled but thanked her. She'd responded with a thumbs up. Before that, there was a weird gap. We hadn't texted for almost 2 weeks, which was unusual for us. I scrolled up looking for the last real conversation we'd had. It was from a month ago. She'd asked if I wanted to get lunch. I'd said I couldn't because I had a doctor's appointment and Blake was taking me. She'd sent back, of course he is. At the time, I thought it was a normal response. Now it felt loaded. I kept scrolling, going back further. 2 months ago, there was another odd exchange. She'd asked me something about her lease renewal, whether I thought she should move or stay in her apartment. I'd given her advice about building equity. She'd responded, easy for you to say? Some of us don't have everything handed to us. I'd asked what she meant, but she'd said she was just stressed about money, and changed the subject. 3 months ago, she'd called me crying at 200 in the morning. When I answered, she'd asked, did you know? Then she'd said, never mind, and hung up. I tried to call back, but she didn't answer. When I finally reached her the next day, she'd said she'd been drunk and emotional about a bad date. Lacey, I said slowly, I think this has been building for a while. I just didn't see it. See what, though? That's what we need to figure out. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my mother. You need to think about what you've done. Your sister is in shambles. She told me everything, and frankly, I'm disgusted. I raised you better than this. I called her immediately. She answered on the first ring. Mom, what are you talking about? What did Vanessa tell you? Don't play innocent, Natalie. Blake confirmed it. We all know the truth now. What truth, Mom, please? I'm so confused. What does Vanessa think I did? There was a long pause. Then you really don't know? Or are you just pretending you don't know? I genuinely have no idea what anyone is talking about. Another pause. Then her voice went cold. Your sister has been in love with Blake since college. You knew that. You've always known that. And you married him anyway. The world tilted. I actually felt dizzy. What? No. No, that's not. Vanessa never said anything about Blake. She never even mentioned him until after we were already dating. She told me everything tonight, Natalie. How she introduced you two at that party. How she'd been working up the courage to ask him out for months. How the next week you called her and said you'd started seeing him. How you knew exactly how she felt and you took him anyway. I tried to remember back to 7 years ago, the party where I'd met Blake. I'd gone with Vanessa. That was true. But she hadn't introduced us. We'd both been getting drinks at the same time and started talking. Vanessa had been across the room talking to someone else. Mom, that's not what happened. I didn't even know she knew Blake. She never told me she had feelings for him. She says she told you multiple times. She says you always did this. Took the things she wanted. Her college boyfriend before Blake. The job she was interviewing for that you ended up getting. The apartment she'd been trying to rent that you somehow got instead. My head was spinning. What college boyfriend? What job mom? I don't understand where this is coming from. Vanessa and I dated different people in college. We've never worked in the same field. We've never even applied for the same apartments. She showed me proof. Natalie screenshots old texts. I saw it with my own eyes. Can you send them to me, please? I need to see what she's talking about. I'm not going to enable your denial. You need to face what you've done and apologize to your sister and to Blake. Apologize to Blake. Mom, he's my husband. A husband you stole from your sister. A life you built on her heartbreak. And now you're having his baby. The ultimate betrayal. According to Vanessa, she wanted that life, that family, and you took it from her. I felt like I was losing my mind. Mom, Blake chose me. We fell in love. That's not stealing. That's just what happened. And all this other stuff. I swear to you, I don't know what she's talking about. Then explain the job at Meridian Tech. Meridian Tech, the company where I'd worked right after college for 2 years before switching careers. What about it? Vanessa interviewed there first. She told you about the position. You applied behind her back and they chose you instead. I searched my memory. Mom, I found that job on a job board. I didn't even know Vanessa had interviewed there, and she ended up at a law firm anyway, which is what she always wanted. She's doing way better than I was at Meridian. That's not how she remembers it, and there it was, the core of the problem. Vanessa remembered things differently than they'd actually happened. Or she was lying, or I was losing my mind and actually had done all these things, and somehow blocked them out. I need to talk to Blake. I said, can you put him on the phone? Blake left. He said he needed to think. Where is he? I don't know. Maybe his brother's house like he told you. And Vanessa, where is she? She's resting in your guest room. My guest room. The room we'd set up as a nursery, where the crib was, where all the baby clothes were folded in the dresser, where I'd spent hours imagining rocking my daughter to sleep. Get her out of my house. I said, my voice harder than I'd ever spoken to my mother. Get her out right now, or I'm calling the police and pressing charges for assault. You wouldn't dare, Mom. She tried to stab me while I was pregnant. Yes, I would absolutely dare. She's your sister and I'm your daughter. Why are you taking her side? The question hung in the air between us. Finally, my mother said quietly, because Vanessa's been struggling for so long and you've always had everything come so easily. Maybe it's time you experience some consequences. Then she hung up. I started crying. Not gentle tears, but huge gasping, so that shook my whole body. The baby kicked frantically, responding to my distress. Lacey pulled me into a hug and let me cry on her shoulder. This is insane, I said between sobs. This is actually insane. My whole family thinks I'm some kind of villain and I don't even know why. We're going to figure this out, Lacey promised. But first you need to breathe for the baby. She was right. I forced myself to take slow, deep breaths to calm down, to think clearly. Okay, I said, wiping my face. I need to see this proof Vanessa supposedly has. I need to talk to Blake face to face, and I need to get them out of my house. What if we call Blake's brother? Maybe he knows what's going on. I nodded and found Garrett's number. He answered after 2 rings. Natalie, hey, is Blake with you? No, he said he was staying with you tonight. Is he not there? He's not here. I haven't talked to him since last week. So Blake had lied about where he was going. Great. Garrett, did Blake say anything to you recently about me? About problems in our marriage? What? No, nothing. What's going on? I gave him the abbreviated version of the baby shower disaster. He was silent for a long moment after I finished. That's wild, he finally said. I had no idea any of that was happening. Blake seemed fine when I've seen him, normal, excited about the baby. Did he ever mention Vanessa being into him back in college? Your sister? No, never. I mean, I barely knew her back then. Blake and I didn't hang out much in college because I was at a different school, but he's never mentioned anything like that to me. If you hear from him, can you tell him I need to talk to him, that this is serious? Yeah, of course, Natalie. Are you okay? Where are you staying? I'm with Lacey. I'm okay, just really confused. After we hung up, Lacey made me eat something. I couldn't taste it, but I knew the baby needed fuel. Then she pulled out her laptop. Okay, she said, let's be systematic about this. Let's go through Vanessa's claims one by one and figure out if there's any truth to them. We started with the college boyfriend claim. I pulled up old photos on my social media from those years. My college boyfriend had been a guy named Josh. We dated for about a year before realizing we wanted different things. I found pictures of us together, checked the dates, then I searched for any pictures of Vanessa with someone who might have been Josh. Nothing. In fact, in all our college photos together, Vanessa was always with a guy named Tyler. They dated on and off for 2 years. Could Josh and Tyler have been the same person, Lacey asked. No, they looked completely different. Tyler was tall and blonde. Josh had dark hair and was shorter. We moved on to the apartment claim. I'd never rented an apartment that I knew Vanessa wanted. We'd lived in different cities after college. She'd gone to New York for law school, and I'd stayed in Boston. We didn't move to the same city until I relocated for work 3 years later. The job at Meridian Tech was harder to verify. I did find the original job posting I'd applied to in my old emails. It was dated 2 weeks before my interview, but I had no way to know if Vanessa had interviewed there unless I asked someone who still worked there, and it had been almost 7 years. What about Blake? Lacey asked. The party where you met? I closed my eyes trying to remember. It had been Vanessa's friend Kendall's birthday party, an apartment full of people I didn't know. Vanessa had invited me last minute because I'd just gone through my breakup with Josh. I remembered standing by the drinks table feeling awkward because I didn't know anyone. Blake had walked up to make himself a drink. We'd started talking about the music playing. Within 10 minutes, we were deep in conversation about our favorite bands. We'd talked for over an hour before Vanessa even came over to see what I was doing. When she'd found us talking, she'd seemed surprised. "Oh, you two met," she'd said. Then she'd introduced us formally. "Natalie, this is Blake. Blake, this is my little sister." Had there been anything in her tone, any indication she'd wanted me to stay away from him? I didn't think so. She'd seemed happy we were getting along. The next week, Blake had asked for my number through Kendall. We'd started texting. We went on our first date 5 days after the party. I told Vanessa about it when she'd asked why I was smiling at my phone so much. "How did she react when you told her?" Lacey asked. I thought back. She asked who he was. I said Blake from the party. She said, "Oh, that's nice," and asked what we did on the date. It was a normal conversation. She seemed happy for me. Did you ever get the sense she was interested in him? Never. Not once. She never mentioned him again until we'd been dating for like 3 months. And I asked if she wanted to all hang out together. She said she was too busy with law school. We sat there trying to piece it together. Either Vanessa had been harboring secret feelings for 7 years and was only now exploding about them, or something else was going on. Some other reason she'd constructed this narrative. What if Lacey said slowly, "This isn't really about Blake at all. What if there's something else going on with Vanessa, and she's just projected it onto you?" It made a certain kind of sense, but it didn't explain why Blake and my mother had immediately believed her story. Around midnight, I got a text from an unknown number. When I opened it, I gasped. It was a screenshot of a text conversation. The names at the top were listed as Natalie and Blake, but I'd never seen these messages before in my life. In the screenshot, Natalie was telling Blake about how Vanessa had always been jealous of her, how Vanessa had never been able to keep a boyfriend or succeed at anything. How it was almost sad, really, how hard Vanessa tried. Blake responded saying, "That was harsh, wasn't it?" Natalie wrote back. "I'm just being honest. She's always been the disappointing daughter. I can't help it if I'm better at life than she is." My hands were shaking as I scrolled through more screenshots. Message after message of me saying horrible things about Vanessa. About how I'd known she liked Blake and pursued him anyway just to prove I could. About how I deliberately applied for jobs she wanted to show her who was superior. "These are fake," I said, showing Lacey. "I never sent these messages. This isn't even the right text interface. Look, the colors are wrong, and I've never talked like that about Vanessa. Not to Blake, not to anyone." "Someone made these," Lacey said, studying them closely. "They're doctored, but they look pretty convincing if you don't know what to look for." Another text came through from the same unknown number. "This is what I've been dealing with for 7 years. This is who you really are, and now everyone knows." It was Vanessa. I tried to call the number, but it went straight to voicemail. I texted back, "These are fake. You know they're fake. Why are you doing this?" 3 dots appeared showing she was typing. Then they disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, a message came through. "Mom found your old journal from college. The one where you wrote about all of this, about how you loved taking things from me, about how it made you feel powerful. You can't deny it anymore." A journal from college. I'd kept journals back then, but I'd never written anything like that because I'd never felt anything like that. Where would my mother have even found an old journal? "What journal?" I texted back. "I don't have any journals at your place or Mom's place. The one you left at Mom's house years ago in your old bedroom closet. She found it when she was cleaning last month. My childhood home." I hadn't lived there in over a decade, but I had left boxes of old stuff in my closet that my mother kept saying she'd donate but never got around to. It was possible there were old journals in there. "Can I see it?" I texted. "If I really wrote those things, I want to see it." No response. I called my mother. She didn't answer. I texted her. Nothing. "This is orchestrated," I said to Lacey. "Vanessa has fake screenshots. Now there's supposedly a journal with my handwriting saying terrible things. Someone is setting me up and I don't know why. Could someone have forged your handwriting in a journal, I guess, but why would they? What's the end game here?" Here my phone rang. It was Blake. "Where are you?" I asked immediately. "Are you okay?" "I'm at a hotel," he said. He sounded tired. "I've been driving around thinking. I need you to be honest with me, Nat. I'm trying to be honest. I don't know what Vanessa told you, but did you keep a journal in college where you wrote about intentionally sabotaging your sister, no Blake?" "I never, because your mom showed me pages from it. Actual pages ripped out with your handwriting, and they line up with everything Vanessa's been saying. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. Blake, I need to see those pages. Can you take pictures and send them to me? Why, so you can deny it more convincingly so I can figure out what the hell is going on. Someone is lying. But I swear to you it's not me. The screenshots Vanessa sent me look real. Nat, the journal entries look real. Your mom verified the handwriting. What am I supposed to think? You're supposed to trust me. I'm your wife, and Vanessa is your sister, who apparently you've been tormenting for years without me knowing. Maybe I don't know you as well as I thought. Blake, please just send me the photos. Let me see what you're looking at. He was quiet for a moment, then fine. But after you see them, I need you to tell me the truth, because if this is all real, we have serious problems, and I need to know if I can trust you with our daughter. The implication made me feel sick, but I agreed, and a minute later several photos came through. The first one showed a page from a spiral notebook. The handwriting did look like mine, but the words, "Vanessa thinks she's going to ask Blake out at Kendall's party." The entry read, "I saw her practicing what she'd say. It was pathetic. I'm going to make sure I talk to him first. It'll be so easy to make him like me more. She's so bad at talking to guys. This is going to be fun." The next photo showed another entry. "Got the job at Meridian. Vanessa is going to be so mad when she finds out. I heard from Kendall that she interviewed there last week. I wonder if she knows I applied too. Probably not. She's oblivious to everything. More photos, more entries, all in handwriting that looked like mine, saying things I would never think, let alone write down." I stared at them, my mind racing. The handwriting was too similar to be a coincidence. Someone had either practiced copying my handwriting until they got it right. "Or Lacey," I said quietly. "What if these are real journal entries, but they're not about what they seem to be about?" "What do you mean?" "What if someone took real pages from my journals and replaced names or words? Like, what if I wrote about someone else entirely? And someone swapped out the names for Vanessa's and Blake's?" I pulled up old photos on my phone, searching for anything from college that might give me a clue. Then I found a photo from my sophomore year, me and my roommate Julie at our dorm. On the desk in the background, visible if you zoomed in, was a spiral notebook, my journal, and I suddenly remembered what I'd been writing about that semester. There had been this girl in my sorority, Bethany, who'd been incredibly competitive with me. Everything I did, she tried to do better. If I mentioned liking a guy, she'd flirt with him at the next party. If I got a good grade, she'd brag about getting a better one. It had been exhausting. I'd written about it extensively in my journal, about how I was tired of feeling like I was in competition with her, about how sometimes I made sure to do things before she could just so she couldn't claim she'd done it first. What if someone had taken those entries about Bethany and changed the name to Vanessa? But who would do that? And why would they have access to my old journals in the first place, Blake? I said into the phone. I need to ask you something. When exactly did your mom find these journal pages? I don't know. She told me last month that she was going through your old stuff. And when did Vanessa first bring up all these accusations to you? She called me about 3 weeks ago. She was crying, saying she needed to tell me something about you that she'd been holding in for years. 3 weeks ago, right around when my mother supposedly found the journal. Did my mom and Vanessa spend time together recently before the journal was found? I mean, yeah. Vanessa's been going to your parents' house for Sunday dinners. She mentioned it a few times, said she and your mom had gotten really close lately. Sunday dinners that I hadn't been invited to because I'd been too pregnant and tired to drive across town. Blake, I think Vanessa might have created all of this. The screenshots are fake. They have to be, because I never sent those messages. And I think the journal entries might be real entries, but altered, changed, to make it seem like they were about her when they were actually about someone else. That's a pretty elaborate accusation, Nat. So is accusing me of 7 years of psychological torture. He sighed. I don't know what to believe anymore, but I need space to figure this out, and I think you should stay away from the house for now. Blake, I'm 8 months pregnant. Where am I supposed to go? I don't know. But if even half of what Vanessa is saying is true, I can't have you around until we figure this out. And if none of it's true, if she's making all of this up, then we'll deal with that when we know for sure. But right now I'm looking at evidence that seems pretty damning. I wanted to scream, to throw my phone, to somehow make him understand, but I could hear in his voice that he'd already made up his mind. He'd chosen Vanessa's version of events over mine. I need a locksmith, I said after we hung up. First thing tomorrow morning, we're changing my locks. What about Blake's key? Lacey asked. He can ring the doorbell if he wants to come home. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Vanessa's face as she lunged at me with the knife. Heard my mother's voice saying, maybe it was time I experienced consequences. At 7 Huzuro in the morning, I called a 24-hour locksmith. He said he could be there by 9 Huzuro. Then I called my doctor and explained what had happened, that I was under severe stress and wanted to make sure the baby was okay. She told me to come in at noon. At 8:30, Lacey and I drove to my house. Blake's car wasn't in the driveway, but my mother's was. Do you want me to come in with you? Lacey asked. No, stay in the car. If things get crazy, call the police. I used my key to open the front door. Inside, I could hear voices coming from the kitchen. My mother and Vanessa can't keep living there. Vanessa was saying, it's my house too, or it should be. If she hadn't stolen Blake, she's going to have to accept the reality of what she's done. My mother said, once the baby comes, we'll make sure Blake understands his options. His options. What did that mean? I walked into the kitchen. They both jumped when they saw me. What are you doing here? My mother demanded. I live here. What are you doing here? Vanessa stood up from the kitchen table. She looked terrible. Her eyes were puffy. Her hair was a mess, but there was something calculating in her expression. Did Blake tell you to stay away? Blake doesn't get to tell me to stay away from my own house. It's his house too, my mother said, and he has concerns about your mental state. I laughed. It sounded slightly unhinged even to my own ears. My mental state, right? Not the mental state of the person who stabbed a cake 47 times and tried to attack a pregnant woman. You're twisting what happened, Vanessa said. There are 50 witnesses and probably 30 videos of what happened. I'm not twisting anything. You're the one who caused all of this. She shot back. If you'd just been honest from the beginning, honest about what I still don't understand what I supposedly did, you stole my life. Vanessa screamed. The sound echoed through the house. Everything I wanted you took, and now you're sitting here playing victim like you don't know exactly what you did. I didn't steal anything. Blake and I fell in love. That's not stealing. That's just life. You knew I was going to ask him out. I told you. No, you didn't. I swear to you, Vanessa, you never told me you had feelings for Blake until last night. She pulled out her phone and started scrolling through something. Then she turned it toward me. This is the text thread from right before Kendall's party. Look at it. Look at what you said. I looked at the screen. The conversation showed Vanessa telling Natalie about a guy she liked who was going to be at the party. Natalie responded asking who it was. Vanessa said it was a secret, but she was planning to finally make a move. Then a message from Natalie. Good luck. I hope it works out for you. Except I'd never sent that message. The interface was slightly off. The timestamp didn't make sense. It showed as being sent at 300 in the morning, which wasn't when we'd been texting about the party. This is fake too, I said. Just like the other screenshots. The timestamp is wrong. And look, I pulled out my phone and opened my real text thread with Vanessa from 7 years ago. I'd never deleted any of our conversations. Here's our actual thread from that time. We talked about the party, but you never mentioned a guy. You asked if I was bringing a date, and I said no because I just broken up with Josh. Vanessa's face went red. You deleted the real messages. You're trying to cover your tracks. Why would I delete messages and keep others? That doesn't make any sense because you're manipulative, Vanessa shrieked. This is what you do. You manipulate and lie and make everyone think you're perfect when really you're... She stopped abruptly, breathing hard. I'm what I asked quietly. What am I, Vanessa? She looked at my mother, then back at me. You're a thief. You've always been a thief. The locksmith rang the doorbell. All three of us froze. That's a locksmith, I said. I'm changing the locks. Both of you need to leave. You can't kick me out, my mother said. Blake said we could stay here. Blake doesn't get to invite people to stay in my house without asking me, especially people who assaulted me yesterday. I didn't assault you, Vanessa said. I had a panic attack and lost control for a moment. There's a difference. Tell that to the police. Oh, wait. I will because I'm filing a report this afternoon. You wouldn't, my mother said. Watch me. I opened the door for the locksmith and explained what I needed. As he started working, my mother and Vanessa gathered their things with icy silence. Before they left, Vanessa turned to me one last time. This isn't over, she said. Blake knows the truth now. Everyone knows you can change the locks, but you can't change what you've done. After they left, I sat on my couch and cried while the locksmith worked. He pretended not to notice, which I appreciated. When he finished, he handed me the new keys. 3 copies. Lady, he said quietly. I don't know what's going on, but if you need to call the police about those people, you should do it. That younger woman seemed off. Yeah, I said. She is. After he left, I went to my doctor's appointment. The baby was fine, heartbeat strong, movement normal, but my blood pressure was elevated, and the doctor warned me that stress could trigger early labor. Is there any way you can remove yourself from the stressful situation? She asked. I almost laughed. Not really. The stressful situation is my entire family. On my way out of the doctor's office, I got a call from an unknown number different from the one Vanessa had texted from yesterday. Hello, Natalie. This is Officer Jennifer Martinez from the City Police Department. I'm calling about the incident at your baby shower yesterday. Multiple witnesses have filed reports and we'd like to take your statement. Finally, something going right. I spent an hour at the police station giving my statement. I showed them the videos that people had sent me. I explained about the fake text messages and the suspicious journal entries. I told them about my mother holding me while Vanessa came at me with the knife. Officer Martinez listened carefully, taking notes. This sounds like it could be a case of harassment, possibly stalking, definitely assault. We're going to reach out to your sister and ask her to come in for questioning. Do you have a restraining order? Not yet. I'd recommend getting one, especially given that she had access to your home and you're about to have a baby. Let me give you the information for filing. When I got back to Lacey's apartment, I found her on her laptop frowning at the screen. What's wrong? I asked. I've been doing some digging into Vanessa, her social media, her professional profiles, stuff like that. Natalie, did you know she got fired from her law firm 2 months ago? I sat down heavily. What? No, she never said anything. She's been talking about making partner. According to a friend of mine who works there, Vanessa was let go for performance issues. She'd been making a lot of mistakes, missing deadlines. They gave her a warning 6 months ago, and when things didn't improve, they let her go. 2 months ago, right around when Vanessa's behavior toward me started getting strange. Is she working anywhere now? I asked. I can't find any indication that she is, but she's been posting on social media like everything's normal, acting like she's still at the firm. Has she been paying her rent? Lacey did more searching. I can't tell that for sure, but there are some concerning posts in a landlord-tenant forum. Someone with the same address as Vanessa's apartment posted about a tenant who hadn't paid rent in 3 months. My sister was unemployed, potentially being evicted and spiraling, and somehow she decided that all of her problems were my fault. There's something else. Lacey said, I found this post from 4 months ago on a forum about creative writing. Someone with a username that matches Vanessa's asked for advice on how to forge someone's handwriting. They got some detailed responses. 4 months ago, months before my mother supposedly found the journal. She planned this, I said slowly. She's been planning this for months. It looks like it. But why? I thought about everything I'd learned. The job loss, the financial problems, the obsession with Blake that she'd apparently harbored for 7 years, real, or imagined the narrative she'd constructed where I was the villain who'd ruined her life. Because it's easier than accepting that her life didn't turn out the way she wanted, I said. If it's my fault, then she's not responsible. She's just a victim. My phone buzzed. It was Blake. Natalie, what the hell? The police just called me asking about yesterday. Good. Because your sister-in-law committed assault and I'm pressing charges. You're pressing charges against your own sister. Yes, Blake, I am. Because she tried to stab me and our baby, and because I'm learning that she's been planning this whole breakdown for months. What are you talking about? I told him everything Lacey had discovered. The job loss, the rent situation, the forum post about forging handwriting. He was quiet for a long time. That doesn't mean she made everything up. He finally said, Blake, the text screenshots are fake. The journal entries were doctored. I can prove it. I have the original journals and I have my actual text history with Vanessa. She's created an elaborate lie and you believed her over me because I saw evidence. You saw what she wanted you to see. Did you ever ask me about any of this before deciding I was guilty? Did you ever give me a chance to defend myself? She's been so upset, Nat, so broken. Why would she put herself through that if it wasn't true? Because she's having some kind of breakdown and she's decided to blame me for it. And somehow she got Mom on her side too. Your mom saw the journal. She confirmed it was your handwriting. I'm sure it was my handwriting, but the entries weren't originally about Vanessa. They were about someone else, and someone changed the names. I can prove that too, if you just listen to me. He sighed. I don't know, Nat. This is all so complicated, and you have to admit it's convenient that you have explanations for everything. It's not convenient. It's the truth. Look, I need more time to process all of this, but can you please drop the charges against Vanessa? She's your sister. This is going to tear the family apart. It's already torn apart, Blake, and I'm not dropping the charges. She's dangerous right now, and I need to protect myself and our baby. What about protecting your family? You mean the family that held me down while she came at me with a knife? That family. He didn't have an answer to that. That evening, I went back to my house with its new locks, and walked through each room. The nursery was still set up exactly how I'd left it. The living room still had the pregnancy pillow I'd been using on the couch. The kitchen still had the meal prep containers I'd filled before the baby shower. Everything looked normal, but nothing was normal anymore. I sat in the nursery rocking chair and called my dad. He and my mom had been divorced for 15 years, and he lived in Florida now. We talked every few weeks, but I hadn't told him about the baby shower yet. Dad, something's happened, I said, and told him the whole story. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Your mother always babied Vanessa, he finally said. Even when we were married, Vanessa was sensitive. Vanessa needed extra support. Vanessa had it harder than you. I tried to tell Patricia she was creating problems by treating you two so differently, but she wouldn't hear it. Do you think Vanessa actually believes the things she's saying about me? I think Vanessa has spent her whole life being told that the world is unfair to her, And now that her life isn't going how she planned, she needs someone to blame. You're an easy target because you've been successful. I'm not that successful, Dad. I have an okay job, a nice house, a good marriage, or at least I thought I did. Compared to Vanessa, right now you're living the dream and she can't handle it. What do? You protect yourself and that baby. You keep Vanessa away and you figure out if Blake is the kind of man who stands by his wife or the kind who runs away when things get complicated. After we hung up, I made myself dinner and tried to relax, but I kept thinking about Blake, about how quickly he believed Vanessa's story, about how he told me to stay away from my own house. Around 9:00 p.m., he called again. Nat, I've been thinking about everything you said, and I want to see this evidence you mentioned. The real journals, the actual text threads, all of it. Does this mean you believe me? It means I'm willing to look at your side of things. Can I come over? I gave him the address. He already knew it, but it felt important to make him ask. 20 minutes later, he was at the door. He looked terrible. His eyes were bloodshot, his clothes were wrinkled, and he had clearly not slept. But when he saw me, really saw me standing there, 8 months pregnant and exhausted, something in his face changed. I'm sorry, he said immediately. I'm so sorry, Nat. I should have talked to you first before believing anything. Before taking Vanessa's side, I let him in. We sat at the kitchen table and I showed him everything. The real journals from college where I'd written about Bethany, not Vanessa. The actual text threads with Vanessa that showed she'd never mentioned having feelings for Blake. The metadata on the fake screenshots that showed when they'd been created, all within the past month. I showed him Lacey's research about Vanessa's job loss and her potential eviction. I showed him the forum post about forging handwriting. He went pale as he looked through it all. Oh my God, he said. Oh my God, Nat. She made it all up. All of it. Yes. But why? Why would she do this? I think she's having a breakdown. Her life is falling apart and she's decided it's my fault instead of dealing with her actual problems. And your mom believes her. My mom has always treated Vanessa like she's fragile. This is just an extension of that. Blake put his head in his hands. I chose them over you. I let your sister attack you, and I took her side. What kind of husband does that? A scared one, maybe. I don't know, Blake. I'm too tired to analyze it right now. Can you forgive me? Give me. I looked at him. Really looked at him. This man I'd loved for 7 years. This man who was about to be the father of my child. This man who'd believed I was capable of years of psychological torture against my own sister. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe eventually. But right now, I don't even know if I can trust you. His eyes filled with tears. That's fair. That's more than fair. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. You can start by supporting me pressing charges against Vanessa and by talking to my mother. She needs to understand that this is all based on lies. He nodded. I'll talk to her tomorrow. But Nat, even if Vanessa made up most of this, do you think there's any chance she actually does have feelings for me? That part might be real? I thought about it. Maybe she convinced herself she had feelings for you 7 years ago, and over time it grew in her mind until it became this huge tragedy. People can convince themselves of a lot of things. I never gave her any indication. I know this isn't about you, Blake. It's about her and whatever's broken in her right now. He stayed that night. We didn't sleep in the same bed. He took the couch, but having him in the house made me feel safer. The next morning, he called my mother. I could hear his side of the conversation. He was firm, but not cruel. He laid out the evidence. He explained that the text messages were fake, the journal entries were doctored, and that Vanessa had been planning this for months. When he hung up, he looked shaken. She didn't believe me, he said. She said I was being manipulated by you, that you'd faked all this new evidence to cover your tracks. Of course she did. She said she's hiring a lawyer for Vanessa for when the police charge her with assault. Good for her. Over the next few days, things started to shift. Some of my friends reached out after seeing videos of the baby shower incident. They were horrified. They offered support. A few people who knew Vanessa mentioned they'd noticed her acting strange lately, making odd comments about me. One of Vanessa's former coworkers actually called me. I saw what happened, she said. I just wanted you to know that Vanessa's been talking about you at work for months. She's obsessed. She'd bring you up in random conversations, always comparing herself to you. A lot of us were worried about her, but she got fired before anyone could convince her to get help. The police moved forward with charging Vanessa with assault. She was required to stay away from me, a formal restraining order. My mother stopped speaking to me entirely. She left a voicemail saying that I'd chosen to destroy the family and that she'd never forgive me for abandoning Vanessa in her time of need. Blake moved back home. We started Coopy's counseling. The therapist said we had a long road ahead, but that she thought we could work through it if we were both committed. 2.5 weeks after the baby shower, I went into labor. Blake was there. My dad flew up from Florida. Lacey stayed with me the whole time. My daughter was born at 6:47 a.m. weighing 7.30. We named her Claire. My mother was not there, Vanessa was not there, and I didn't miss them. What I didn't expect was the letter that arrived a week after Claire was born. It was from Vanessa. The envelope was thick. Inside were several pages in her handwriting. Her real handwriting, not the forged version of mine. The letter started, "I know you'll never forgive me, and you shouldn't, but I need you to understand what happened even if it doesn't excuse what I did." She confessed to everything. To creating the fake screenshots to doctoring the journal entries. She'd taken pages from my actual journals and used a light box to trace over them, changing keywords and names to convincing our mother that I'd been secretly terrible to her for years. When I lost my job, she wrote, "I spiraled. I started drinking too much. I stopped being able to sleep. And I kept thinking about how easy everything always seemed for you. You fell into a good relationship. You found work you liked. You bought a house. You were having a baby. Meanwhile, I was failing at my career, drowning in debt, and so lonely I'd go days without talking to anyone. And the worst part was that I knew it was my fault. I'd made bad decisions. I'd been too proud to ask for help. I'd pushed away everyone who tried to support me. But admitting that felt impossible, so I made you the villain. If everything bad in my life was because of what you'd done to me, then I didn't have to face my own failures. I convinced myself first. That's the scary part. I actually started to believe my own lies. The fake screenshots felt real to me. The altered journal entries felt like they captured a truth even if they weren't literally accurate. I told myself I was exposing something that had always been there. Then I brought Mom into it. I showed her the evidence. I cried to her about how you'd ruined my life, and she believed me because she's always seen me as fragile. It validated her worldview that I needed protecting. Blake was harder to convince. But once I got Mom on board, it was easier. He saw how upset we both were. He saw what looked like proof. And he'd never had any reason to distrust your family before. So why would he start? The baby shower was never supposed to go that far. I was going to make a scene, cry, accuse you publicly, make you feel the humiliation I felt every day when I logged into my bank account and saw I couldn't pay rent. When I scrolled through your social media and saw your perfect life. But when I got there and saw you glowing and happy and surrounded by people who loved you, something broke. I picked up the cake knife, and before I knew what I was doing, I was stabbing the cake. The symbolism wasn't lost on me even then, destroying something sweet and celebratory, just like I felt you destroyed my chances at happiness. And then I saw your stomach, your pregnant stomach, the ultimate proof that you had everything I wanted. And I genuinely in that moment wanted to hurt you, to make you feel physical pain, to match my emotional pain. I'm telling you this not because I think it justifies anything, but because you deserve to know how sick I really was, how sick I still am. I'm checking myself into a psychiatric facility tomorrow. I'm going to be there for at least 60 days, maybe longer. I'm going to work on figuring out why I did this. Why I threw away my relationship with my little sister, because I couldn't handle my own life falling apart. I don't expect you to ever speak to me again. I hope Blake can forgive himself for believing me. He's a good man who was in an impossible situation. And I hope you can raise Claire knowing that whatever happened between us was never her fault and never about her. I'm sorry those words are inadequate, but they're all I have. I hope you and Claire have a beautiful life. The life I pretended you stole from me, but that you actually earned by being a better person than I ever was. Vanessa. I read the letter 3 times. Then I showed it to Blake. "What do you want to do with this?" he asked after reading it. "I don't know. Part of me is angry that she thinks a letter can fix this, but part of me is glad she's getting help. Do you want to forgive her eventually? I mean, I don't know that either. Maybe someday, but not anytime soon." I put the letter in a drawer. Maybe Claire would want to read it someday. Maybe she'd want to understand what happened with her aunt. Or maybe I'd throw it away and we'd never speak of this again. My mother sent flowers to the hospital with a card that said, "Congratulations on the baby." Nothing else. No apology, no acknowledgement of what had happened. I donated the flowers to another new mother on the maternity ward and threw the card away. 6 weeks after Claire was born, Blake and I were sitting in our living room late at night. Claire was asleep in her bassinet nearby. We were both exhausted but happy. "Can I ask you something?" Blake said, "and I need you to be completely honest. Okay, do you regret how everything happened, meeting me at that party? Everything that came after?" I looked at him, at this man who'd failed me when I needed him most, but was trying so hard to make it right. At our daughter sleeping peacefully, unaware of the drama that had surrounded her arrival into the world. "No," I said. "I don't regret any of it. Not meeting you, not marrying you, not having Claire. What I regret is that Vanessa couldn't be happy for me, that my mother chose sides instead of trying to help both her daughters. But the actual life I've built, I don't regret a single part of it." He reached over and took my hand. "I love you. and I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you never doubt that I'm on your side. I know I said, and surprisingly, I meant it. 3 months later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, it was Vanessa. I know I'm not supposed to contact you, she said immediately, and I'll understand if you hang up, but I wanted to tell you that I finished my program. I'm living in a sober house now. I have a new therapist. I got a job as a paralegal. Not glamorous, but it's something. And I wanted you to know that I'm testifying against myself. I'm telling the court everything I did was premeditated and that you deserve full protection from me. Why are you calling me, I asked. Because I'm learning in therapy that amends aren't just about apologizing. They're about changed behavior. And I wanted you to know that I'm changing. Not because I think it will fix what I broke, but because it's the right thing to do. Okay. Is Claire doing well? I hesitated. Then she's perfect. I'm glad. I really am. Goodbye, Natalie. Goodbye, Vanessa. I hung up and looked at Blake, who'd been listening to my side of the conversation. Do you think she means it? He asked. I think she's trying. Whether she succeeds or not, that's up to her. That night, as I rocked Claire to sleep, I thought about everything that had happened, about how quickly a life could be turned upside down, about how people you trusted could become strangers, about how the stories we tell ourselves can become more real than reality itself. But I also thought about the people who'd stood by me. Lacey, who'd given me a place to stay without hesitation. My dad, who'd flown up to be there for Claire's birth. The friends who'd reached out with support. Blake, who'd messed up but was working every day to do better. And I realized that the real family wasn't the one you were born into. It was the one you built. The one that showed up when things got hard, the one that believed you even when the evidence looked damning. Claire started to drift off, her tiny hand curled around my finger. I looked down at her and thought about the stories she'd be told when she got older about her aunt, who'd had a breakdown about the dramatic way she'd entered the world. But mostly I hoped she'd know this, that she was wanted, that she was loved, and that whatever happened with the rest of the family, she had parents who'd chosen each other and chosen her over and over again. The house keys were still in the drawer where I'd put them after changing the locks. 3 copies, one for me, one for Blake, one extra in case of emergencies. Vanessa would never have a key to my house again. My mother would never have unrestricted access to my life, and that was okay because sometimes the strongest thing you can do is close a door, lock it, and build something new on the other side. Claire opened her eyes, looked at me with that unfocused newborn gaze, and yawned. I smiled. You're safe, I whispered to her. I promise you're safe.